Hey everyone, and welcome to the podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Anova Longarm Quilting Machines, where precision meets passion. With advanced features like the lightning stitch regulator, Anova ensures your stitches are flawless every time. Visit AnovaLongarm.com to discover the future of quilting.
Welcome.
Hello, and welcome to our podcast here at Linda's. Today we've got a great topic planned out for you. We're going to talk about choosing a long arm. Now, Mom and I have some great industry knowledge in regards to how to choose a long arm. We've been doing it for quite some time, her a little bit more than me, but I think we've got some great valuable insight. All the things we're going to be talking about today, of course, are based on our personal experience.
Exactly.
And the different machines that we've worked with over the years.
Yes, exactly. And this isn't going to be about brands. We're not doing that. Nope. This is going to be about what to look for, what to consider when you are looking to purchase a long arm. Really good tips on things that you really want to think about as you're deciding and planning out that purchase.
Yeah, for years we spent many times at shows, and you get to learn a lot about everyone that's looking for a machine when you're working at a quilt show. And it's not their buying habits or anything like that. It's when you're coming into this as either a beginner or even an advanced quilter, going into a show and just seeing the vendors and the people there, you can get a little bit overwhelmed sometimes. And you go in there with a list of questions in your head because you didn't write them down, like me. You go in there with a list of questions in your head. And when you get to the booth, you get a little, what's the word? Help me out.
Well, I think you're distracted, right? And unless you bring up that little pad that you wrote everything down on, you're not going to remember everything to ask. So
overwhelmed.
Yeah,
that's
overwhelmed.
The word. You get overwhelmed. Distracted was good too.
Yeah.
But overwhelmed. And when you get overwhelmed, then you start maybe considering things that you didn't really necessarily need to begin with, or you leave out a very important part, like how big your room is, and you accidentally order the wrong size table, and then it's a whole ordeal from there. Exactly. So we just want to kind of give you that list of things that you can jot down, and then when you're going to make your purchase, whether it's at a show or online or over the phone, you have that stuff to fall back on. So when you're going in there, you can truly enjoy your buying experience.
Exactly. So what I kind of like to start off with, and these might not be in the exact order that you might be thinking, it's just we're trying to get it all in there, but is your room size, right? You really need to know where you're going to put this machine. And I think we touched on that a little bit on the last podcast, but we're going to go into a little bit more depth on this one. Where is that machine going? What size is that room? And what size table are you looking to purchase? For example, if you are wanting to get a 12-foot table, which is what we recommended, right? You want to make sure you have a floor print of about 15 by 10 just for that table and machine, not the room size.
Yeah, you get a lot of inexperienced sales folks when it comes to selling long arms, and 12 feet is not 12 feet.
It isn't.
It's 12 feet and some change. However, you still have to consider getting around it. You're going to have other things in the room, most likely. You want to make sure that you can get to the back if you're doing, I guess that's getting around it too, but get to the back if you're wanting to change thread or do pantograph quilting. So always have that extra buffer in. And you said 15 by 10, 15 by 8?
Yeah, 15 by 8, 15 by 10. You want to think of that as your floor print. The 12-foot machine, depending on the brand, is most likely going to take up about 12 and a half by about 5 feet, 4.5 to 5 feet. And that's going to be the where the machine is sitting. But you need to be able to get around that machine. Most machines, some of it can go against a wall, which is why we say 15 and not like 20. Yeah. But you want comfortable space to be able to walk around that machine. So think about that. Where is this going to go? Do I have the ideal space? Can I get the ideal space? And if not, and I still really want this machine, maybe I need to go down to a size 10-foot table and understand those limitations, right, with that table. So again, room size is extremely important on where I'm going to put that machine.
Right. And I know we touched on it last episode, but you just brought up a great point on those limitations. So for majority of the brands, if you're looking at a 10-foot table, max quilt top size, you're looking at about a 90-inch quilt top, about max. You can do a little bit more, but kind of 90's pushing it.
Correct.
And then when you go to a 12-foot table, max quilt top size, you're looking width is 120 inches
And
wide.
that's pushing it.
And that's pushing it. You can do it, but it's little tight.
Yeah, especially when you have that computerized machine and the arm has the computer head on it and you got to swing it out. You've done that a few times, right?
Once or twice I've had to do it.
Yeah, so it's considering, again, what we talked about last time. If you're going to be doing it as a business or personal, what size quilts you're going to want to do, et cetera, et cetera. But, really considering that room size. Another thing to consider when you're considering the room size is, do you have proper electrical to that room? Mm-hmm. This isn't thought about or talked about a lot, but by the time it's delivered, then it is, and it's not too late, but you sometimes don't have the right outlet, right?
Right.
So, I think it's just always been highly recommended, and it could be different from your experience of what's been recommended to you, but ideally, these are going to be our ideal suggestions. Not have to, but definitely ideal suggestions.
For sure.
Is a 20 amp breaker, like a dedicated 20 amp breaker to that room where that quilting machine is going to go, especially if it's a computerized quilting machine that has hydraulics, light bar, like everything you can imagine being plugged into that outlet, right?
Right.
Because it does pull some surge. Does it pull 20 amps? No, it doesn't. But you definitely want to have that 20 amp breaker to be able to pull anything as it's going. Mm-hmm. But also because in that same room, you might be plugging in an iron. And people don't realize how much amps an iron pulls.
Yeah.
So picture this, right? Because, this has happened to customers before. And they've called us and asked us. You're running your machine. So let's say it's the computerized one, so you can walk away. You're running your machine. You have your iron on. You are so multitasking right now. You are ironing. And all of a sudden, somebody's in the kitchen and uses the microwave and everything goes off. They didn't realize that their microwave was on the same amp breaker as their iron.
Yeah, it depends on who built the house and when the house was built. Some of them have been that way.
Exactly.
And it's sometimes even on the opposite side of the house.
Exactly. You don't even think about it. So, just having that dedicated breaker for that room just makes it a lot easier. It takes all that out of there. But if you don't, just understand and what's all used on that breaker. Mm-hmm. Because obviously if the microwave and the iron's going on at the same time, you probably have already figured that out when using them at the same time, and it will blow that breaker. So having the proper electrical, paying that little bit of extra money to get that plug put in is definitely worth it when you're investing so much money in the machine.
Definitely.
Can you think of anything else electrical that you would suggest?
In the past, you've heard a lot of people recommending like a battery backup for certain things. And over time, the opinion on that has changed a little bit.
Okay.
Some machines, especially the computerized ones, the way it pulls power, the battery backup can flip off, and then it's kind of messing with some of the motors, and some of the boards on the machine might be sending improper signal depending on which battery backup you purchase. Mm-hmm. So we always recommend a really good surge protector. I would probably stray away from a battery backup, but you want a really good surge protector with a specific joule rating, and I know you know what that is. So
yes, I do.
What's that? The minimum joule rating that we're looking for on that?
Yeah, I want to say it was like 2,600. It's been a while.
Okay, I'm glad I tested you. You're correct. Yes, it was.
It's been a while. Don't test me on that.
Yeah, you want a really good surge protector. We're not looking Amazon Basics on this one. No. For the amount of money that you're putting in the machine, you want something that's going to be able to handle the proper joule rating for that.
And these are surge protectors that you can get at your big box stores or on Amazon. Just look at the joule rating. These are not expensive ones. These are not $100 surge protectors. We're talking $25, $30 for a decent one and up.
Okay, that was before inflation. Let's maybe a little bit.
Okay, well, for less than $50.
Okay, so that's better.
You can still get a good one. It's all about the joule rating. So, and that's JOULE when you're looking on your actual surge protector box or on the description online. That's important to know, especially if you're like.
There's your applause.
Thank you. That's kind of important to know, like when you're in the store, or especially if you're searching online, you go 2,600 joule and you type in JEWEL, right?
Yeah.
And they're going to get you like a carat and crystals, right?
Oh man, then you're in the crystal heaven, and then you forgot about the surge protector.
You forgot exactly.
Now you're looking at Swarovski stuff.
Exactly.
So that's basically the last thing that I think about electrical wise.
Yeah.
Is making sure the room can handle it. I have a proper surge protector.
Yeah.
And I've got everything set up the way I'd like it to be. Also, if you're building out a room, we see people do this.
Yeah,
if you're building out a room, I recommend putting in a floor outlet where you're going to be putting the machine, maybe about middle of where you're going to be putting the machine.
Those are nice.
That way you're not having any additional cords going, across that you could accidentally trip over, or someone that you invite over into your studio could accidentally trip over while the machine's quilting. Then it turns off. Then you got to figure out how to set it all back up. Ask me how I know. It's a whole thing.
That's definitely a good point if you're building out. And you actually just brought up a memory of mine. I've been to multiple deliveries over the years, and we've had customers that had already had a room built out, but they put the outlet in the ceiling above where the machine was going to go, because obviously it was too late to do the floor.
Right.
So if it's too late to do the floor and you still want that same concept, you can have one built out into your ceiling.
Yeah, and then you just have the cord kind of.
It's kind of hanging down a little bit, so maybe a little bit more in the way, but it still gets you from tripping.
True.
Right. So there's still those options.
Exactly.
All right. So another thing to kind of think about is, the money at that point. You've decided the room size. You know what size you can get. You know that you're going to put the electrical in. It's going to be what do I want to spend on this new investment, right?
You definitely want to go in with a budget in mind, and you want to stick really strong to that budget. These machines can get a little pricey, a little fast when you start adding in all the different options that are available.
Yeah.
They're amazing different options, but you don't want to get into something that you're stressed trying to figure out how to pay for it.
Yeah.
It's not fun
not
anymore
as fun.
at that point. Even if you're running a business, it can still be fun, but you don't want to overwhelm yourself with a payment or, an updue cost that wasn't initially budgeted out just because you saw, a pretty light on it.
Exactly. But on the flip side, I would have to say, if you are thinking of doing this as a business and not personal, today's market, you really do need a computerized machine.
Yeah.
To make it to be more competitive in the market. You don't have to have one. You can still do the hand guiding. But if you're doing it 8 hours a day, besides your neck hurting and your back hurting,
your
shoulders hurting, it's just become more of a computerized market when it comes to the business side of it.
Yeah, the business side is definitely more competitive.
Yeah.
Because we're trailing off a little bit, but when you're looking at a business, majority of the quilting that you're going to be getting from business standpoint is going to be that edge-to-edge quilting.
Correct.
Which, if you don't know what edge-to-edge quilting is, it's taking one pattern and it's going to repeat over the whole entire quilt. And that is really the bread and butter of the business quilting industry. That's really where you're seeing that come out. And when you're doing that by hand or by following a pantograph, that really takes a toll on your body. Yes. And it's hard to compete or keep up with those computerized machines.
It definitely is. It's not impossible. It just makes it a little bit harder on the body.
Right.
So when you are budgeting it out, especially if you're doing it for a business, think about how much business you want to do, if this is going to be a full-time business for you. And the cost of the computerized machine is sometimes double the cost.
Yeah.
But let's say that you can't quite get into that computerized machine yet. You are doing it for a business, but you just need to start off with a hand-guided machine for cost, right? I only want to put about 25. I don't want to put about 75,000 into this business yet.
Yeah.
And that's not that's like full on having everything. When I'm saying
what
cost.
machine are you finding that's $75,000?
Most of the computerized,
we're in different tax brackets, Mom.
No.
That's not what I'm looking at.
Most of the computerized machines, I mean, depending on what computerized machine you're getting,
they're up there.
They are up there. They're expensive, and so I was talking about like having all the thread and all that stuff too, like everything, right?
Oh, okay. You're talking delivery, taxes,
tax
all
title,
the
license,
unforeseen stuff that comes with it.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. Look at you.
So you can start off with a hand guided machine. Just make sure whatever hand guided machine that you choose, whatever brand, that it can be upgraded.
Yes. See, I was just about to say that. That's a really good point to always bring up. When you are determining, like she said, which machine to go with, always look that it has that upgrade path.
Yep.
It has that retrofit path. Even if you may never plan on going computerized, and that's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
You do not have to be a computerized quilter
of course
by
not. Of
any
course
means. But you want to have that opportunity for yourself, or whenever you're done and ready to retire, the person that's purchasing that used machine from you, 9 times out of 10 is going to want to put a computer on it and retrofit it. And you want to have that option from a better resale value standpoint.
Exactly. So when you are looking, that's just one of the good things to look at. Can it be retrofitted? Can it be upgraded? Which brings me into another thing is since we're talking about budget.
Squirreling.
No, we're talking about budget. It's the same thing.
This is true. Yeah, we're talking about budget. Okay.
So when we're talking about budget there also is a really good used machine market out there.
Yes.
So if you are looking for, you really need to stay inside the budget. You want to double check a few things. You want to do your research. It doesn't hurt to research the used machine market at the same time. Now, probably just one of the main downfalls of if purchasing a used machine that's still new is that most machine brands won't transfer the warranty.
I don't know of anyone that does.
Yeah, I don't either. And if there is now, then that's great. But I don't know.
For whatever year you're watching this on YouTube,
yeah,
it might be different.
So that's kind of something to look at. So if, warranties don't transfer, so you definitely want to consider that before when the cost that you're paying for the machine.
For sure.
And then it's always good to research, like, what is the most expensive part on that machine that could go out, and find out from the manufacturer or from the dealer in your area, how much does that part cost? Can I install it myself? Or do I have to have a house call and a service call to have that installed? Put that into your budget when you're purchasing a used machine.
Yeah, because you'd be surprised. The majority, I'm not going to say the majority, there's quite a few Longarm machine brands that require a technician to install the part on the machine.
Correct.
And some of it I get. Some of them you want the technician to do it because it's like, I'm not doing that. But there's some things that are like on the outside of the machine that you could easily change yourself, or someone in your family could easily change yourself. And then if it's something that has to wait for a technician, you might be down a couple of weeks, maybe a month or two before that can be done. So always researching kind of what that manufacturer's policy is on stuff like that.
That actually brings us into one of the next things.
No, we just keep going in different things.
But no, that's really good though, because the idea was to talk about, looking at the budget, what you want to purchase new versus used, and what to look for in those things. One of the other good things to look for when you are trying to purchase the brand is how long has a brand been in business? How long has the machine that you're purchasing been made?
Yeah.
Right? Maybe it's a brand new model that just came out. But so looking at that, like how long has the machine been in business? How long has that machine been made? What's the reputation of the machine brand that you're looking at?
Right.
Because there are multiple machine brands that have closed over the years.
Yeah.
Right. So you want to know what you're buying before you buy it, and then you find out the manufacturer closed 2 years before you bought it.
Yeah, it's a discontinued machine,
When
a
it's a used
discontinued
machine.
brand. You can't get the parts easily, and then you're kind of stuck with an investment that you made.
Yeah, so it's really important to do the research on the investment, just like you would most likely do research on the car you're buying. This is same thing. It's about the same cost.
About the same cost, yeah.
So you definitely want to do that research on that.
So you were talking about money, and then we kind of went crazy on different things. But what's like, I'm going to speak from a business perspective.
Okay.
I'm someone that wants to start a long-arm quilting business. I want to go get a loan for this long-arm quilting machine. Where do I start? Where do I look for a loan? Because I guarantee you my bank, when I go in there and I talk to them and say I want to start a long-arm quilting business, they may look at me and I'm going to get sudded.
Crickets.
Crickets. That's what I'm going to get. I like my new switches.
I see that. There's multiple things. Obviously, the first thing I would say is you can look with the brand and the dealer that you're buying with. A lot of brands have their own financing companies that they use. Check them out first. See if you like their terms. Another thing you can do is a lot of credit unions, not only banks, but credit unions will do these loans because they consider them for personal as well. Consider them kind of like a car loan, a non-secure loan. So you can definitely look at your bank for that, a credit union. The other thing is if you do want to do this for a business and you're ready to you're putting in a storefront, you need inventory, you need this machine, you're going to, that ticket's going to be over about $100K, then the SBA, a Small Business Administration, does loans like that. Now there's a process with that, and I'm not totally familiar with that, so you'd have to look all that up, but I knew that it is available out there. Another place that a lot of people used to find loans was they would actually just search online for like auto loans and different loans to like home equity or how to update this, and they would actually find loans with really good interest rates, and then be able to secure that loan for the long arm and buy the long arm that way. Where they got into it, like, back in the day it was 3 or 4% interest. Now it's a lot higher, but compared to maybe a company card or company interest rate that's more like 15 to 20% sometimes when
Right,
you look
right.
at the end of the day.
Right.
So there's multiple sources. And if you don't like any of those sources, it's, just keep putting those pennies in the bucket and saving.
And saving for it.
Right,
That's
you
for
know.
sure. Yeah. I definitely, rolling back real quick to what you said about the machine manufacturers or sometimes the dealers, you'll sometimes see certain financing deals offered throughout the year. So you can definitely keep your eye out for that. And if it's a financing deal that works within your terms, then that might be something to go for, because you're going straight through the manufacturer or the dealer, a little bit more of a trusted source sometimes,
Yeah.
as opposed to looking online and kind of just finding things.
That's true. That's true. So multiple sources. Again, we're not financial advisors by any means.
No.
These are, remember, when you listen to us, you're just getting tips. So we've talked about room size, electrical, budgeting, money, things like that. We got into a little bit of the brands and what to look for.
Can we talk about the fun stuff now?
No, I'm not done with I got all my little notes here.
The fun, I think it's next on your list, though.
No, not yet.
Oh, okay. I'll wait.
Corey always just wants to jump to the fun stuff, and I want to get
No, it's important. These are important things. I just like to talk about the machines.
Exactly.
All right.
So another thing to look for is what does the warranty look like on that machine that you're purchasing? How long is the warranty? Does it matter if you use it for a business or is it personal use? Is it based on hours on the machine? So look at the warranty. Read all the right, because some of them are based on hours. So just read the details of the warranty. Make sure you're happy and content with the warranty that machine offers.
I was really involved in this thing you just said. Did you mention commercial, personal?
Yeah, I did. Mm-hmm.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah,
I'm glad.
I said business though instead of commercial. Let me use the word for Corey. Commercially used.
Make sure that is an option that is in the warranty. There are some brands, and it might be changed by the time you're listening to this, but there are some brands that if you use the machine for commercial use, it kind of discounts the warranty.
Yeah, whether it discounts or it, a lot of them have changed towards hourly based now. So if you've got so many hours on the machine, they're just assuming you're using it for a business, right?
Fair.
Definitely check all that information out for the brands that you're looking at. Also, the service warranty. Like, how does that work on your machine? I just bought this brand new machine. It just cost me $50,000, and a part went out on it, 2 months in. How am I going to get that fixed? You want to know that, right? How you ask that for a car? I mean, I do. So how's that going to work on a machine? And so those are questions that you want to ask. Do I have to bring the machine to you? Do you come to the house? Do I have to pay for the house call?
So is there a fee associated with it?
Yeah, is there a fee associated with you coming out to fix a warranty part? Those are just things that you just want to know ahead of time.
Do I have to pay for the warranty part ahead of time and then I'm reimbursed later? I've seen that.
Yeah. So all these are really good questions. You just want to know ahead of time.
Yeah.
I mean, some of them are going to be pretty much the same across the board. Some will be different, but just so you're aware, so you're prepared for that. Because what you don't want is to have a surprise 2 months into having a brand new machine. And then you find out that you have to pay for the house call, you have to pay for the warranty part. And if they decide that it was actually warranted or not warranted, you are out of pocket, right? Like who makes that decision on if it was warranted or not warranted?
Right.
So, kind of look at all that. Which brings me to another important thing. I feel like it's really important to buy from a local dealer.
I agree.
Okay?
100%.
Yeah. So you really want to look for a brand that has a local dealer that can help you for training, can help you fix the machine if needed. And what happens sometimes, I think, is that we go to a show, we see all these awesome machines.
Here she goes.
We see all these amazing prices, and we get offered this amazing deal to buy this same brand that we've been looking at because we've done our research, right? This is the brand we want. This is what we're getting. The show is going to give me $1,000 more off. And then I don't even think about contacting the local dealer to see if they'll match the price, right?
Majority of the time, unless it's a ridiculous show special, because we've seen it. Sometimes it's like, oh, okay, all right. Majority of the time, your local dealer will match that price.
They will.
Now, we can't speak for your local dealer,
no, of course not.
Majority of the time, they will match that price because all of that stuff is built in to their bottom line at the end of the day. It's built into kind of that minimum price that they can get to. So, and you'll want to work with your local dealer from, again, a training perspective, a service perspective, building a rapport perspective.
Yeah, because usually when you're purchasing a machine like this is a lifelong decision, and lifelong could be 10 years, right? But still, it's still a long decision.
You're saying they have 10 years left in their life?
No, I'm saying maybe they want to do it for 10 years and they want to do something different afterwards. But I mean, however long you want to do it, that was just kind of talking. You want to be able to have that relationship with them that you can just call them up at a moment's notice or stop by at the store when it's open and ask them questions, and they'll most likely still help you if you didn't purchase it from them, but it just makes them feel better. And especially if they can match that price and they were able to sell it to you in the first time. Because I think what some of the things that happened in the past was they had all these amazing deals at shows and customers would purchase at a show, not knowing that when we were selling them, we would have done the same exact thing for them. Right. Because they just didn't think to ask. So just ask. It's just a quick, easy question.
Yeah.
Right. So that's really good. Do you have anything else to add to that one?
No.
Are you still wanting to jump to the fun stuff?
No. This is good. Keep going. Keep going. You're doing great.
So I think that brings us to, what to look for, brands, et cetera, et cetera.
I would definitely also, while you're in the middle of your research phase, if you don't know what's around you already, I would definitely be researching the quilt shows in your area and seeing if your local dealer is going to be there or if a dealer is going to be there.
Yeah.
Because you'll also see good show specials. Might not be the best show special sometimes. Sometimes your local dealer can offer a better one or equal to. But it also gets you in the door to touch the machine too.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's dive into what truly sets Anova Longarm quilting machines apart in the quilting world. Anova is not just about precision. It's about pioneering innovation and unmatched excellence. Their machines are designed with the quilter's needs in mind, ensuring that every project is not just completed, but perfected. Take their lightning stitch regulator, for instance. With 3 encoders instead of the usual 2, this system ensures that every needle drop is precisely where it needs to be, even after a pause for a bobbin run out, thread change, or even a quick break. This means no more frustrating misalignments, ensuring your quilt top remains flawless with every stitch exactly where it belongs. But Anova doesn't stop there. Their M-Series machines come equipped with industry-leading plug-and-play robotics, meeting you exactly where you're comfortable, starting with the optional Pantavision system, which allows you to follow pantograph patterns digitally from the front of your machine. This means you have a full view of your quilt top every time, making the quilting process more intuitive and enjoyable. The machine's standard fully adjustable front handles allow for 360 degrees of rotation, giving you complete control. The spring-loaded hopping foot ensures smooth operation over any quilt thickness. Plus, the integrated LED light strip in the throat of the machine illuminates your workspace perfectly, reducing eye strain and ensuring every detail is visible. And for those looking to push the boundaries, Anova offers optional grand format embroidery on their autopilot machines, providing hoop-free embroidery on your Longarm. With Autopilot's perfect cornering technology and HD stitches, you can achieve precise 90-degree angles every time, ensuring your quilts are as beautiful as they are precise. Anova's commitment to excellence and innovation is industry-leading. So if you're ready to elevate your quilting, visit AnovaLongarm.com and see how Anova can meet your every need.
So definitely, like you were saying, since we were at the time to buy and you know what you want, yeah, definitely, or if you're not quite sure and you're trying to choose between two brands and they're both at a quilt show, or like we talked about in the last video, you have time to go to the dealership, definitely go to the dealership, spend 30 minutes to an hour with them, test out that machine, ask them questions, book an appointment.
Schedule an appointment for sure if you're
That's
planning
important.
on going in.
Yeah, these are
ask questions.
Most dealers are smaller businesses that are on a really tight schedule and want to show you and demo. But if you come in and they've got all this other stuff happening or all these other appointments, you might feel like you're not important because they haven't been able to help you yet. But you are just as important as the rest of them. They just need a schedule.
1,000%. Yeah.
Yeah, that way they can spend the quality time with you. So definitely a good point, booking that appointment.
And in going into that booking an appointment, some dealerships, like for instance for us, and I'm not trying to throw you under the bus here, but I might. For us, like there's certain features on the machine that you wouldn't be able to show.
Correct.
Because you didn't know how it worked. No offense. But, and there were certain features on the machine that I couldn't show because that wasn't the class that I taught on certain times. So if you're booking that appointment, they can make sure to have someone there that has all the knowledge for what you're wanting to talk about.
That's a really good point too.
And I would definitely tell them when you're booking that appointment, hey, I'm coming in to look at XYZ machine. I would like to see these X features and then some. Yeah. But that way it also helps that dealer kind of build that, not schedule, but that little
demo.
That demo.
It's a demo.
I don't know why that was so hard to come up with the word.
How many years did we do demos?
We're not looking at the specifics here. We're looking forward. But it helps them build that demo so it's a little bit more personalized to you as opposed to just kind of the cookie cutter demo.
Right, exactly. Because, I mean, whether it depends on if you're making quilts or maybe you're making stockings constantly or making luggage tags. Believe it or not, you can do all kinds of stuff on these machines. So just knowing what you're wanting out of the machine so they can show you. Yeah. So definitely schedule that appointment.
Yep.
So now that we're ready to buy, we're buying the machine, we know what we want. One more thing you need to think about is, does this machine get shipped to you? Does it get dropped off on your driveway, and do you move it into the house? Does it get put into the house by the shipper? Or is this a delivery and setup situation? Some machines do different things. So double check that one last thing, right? Because if it's a machine that gets shipped to you and it's dropped off on your driveway and then the shipping carrier leaves it, how are you going to get it into the house? Is it going into the garage? Is it going into the room? How are you going to get into those locations on your own or with help of, a friend or family member? So you want to know that. The second thing is, or is it being delivered to me? If it's being delivered to me, I need to find out, is it going to fit in the room that I have chose for it? Right? Yeah, like getting it through the door.
Oh, yeah.
So we've done the room size, and this could have been brought up to the room size part too, but I kind of wanted to save it for this part of the delivery aspect of it. Okay. Because that's when we would find out the majority of the time, right? When it was time for delivery, we talked about it for a long time. They were just so excited they forgot about it. But can that machine be broken down enough to go through that window, to go around that corner, to go down to the basement, to go upstairs to that loft? Can it happen? And if it
down
can't,
the hallway and a sharp right turn up over the cabinets, down over.
You've done it enough.
I've done it. Yeah, I've done it. You can. The thing about these frames, they don't bend.
Exactly.
So, what you always recommended was depending the size table that you have. So, say if you're doing a 12-foot table, you want to be able to get like a 12-foot 2x4. That piece, you want to be able to get that into the room easily from the front door or the window, however you're planning on doing it.
And that's definitely a good practice, no matter the brand, no matter the frame type or how they are putting it together, solid pieces, put together pieces, whatever it is, because eventually you might have to take it out of that room, right?
Right.
So take that. That's a really good point. That 12-foot 2x4, and just walk it from the driveway all the way into the room that it's going into. And if you have no issues getting that in, 9 times out of 10, you're going to be okay getting the delivery guy, the technician.
Or delivery woman.
Can get it into that the room without any issue.
Yeah.
If you are unable to get that size, whatever size table, 2x4 in there, you have to figure out, is there an alternative way to get in there? Can it go through the window? Because I'm on the first story and there's no trees blocking it. Can it go upstairs?
This is bringing back so many memories.
I know, right?
Of delivery.
If it's gonna go upstairs, how am I gonna be able to get it there? Does it have to go through a second story window? And 9 times out of 10, if it does, you're gonna have to have like a forklift involved, which means or a scissor lift, which means there's a proper operator. And most dealers, because of the danger of that, are going to be unable to do that part for you. You might have to hire out that part. So you want to make sure you put that into the budget. Yeah. Or you just change the room that it's going into if you can.
Yeah. If you have the option, you're like, you know what? Well, I thought about putting the living room in that second story loft. So that's where the living room's going.
Exactly. Machine downstairs now. Living room's upstairs. See ya. So, I think those are just really important tips to know when you're deciding on that kind of stuff, right?
I think you left out a very important part.
I did?
Yes.
Well, I was finishing up this part.
Which part is that?
The delivery or shipping aspect.
Okay, you finish that, and then I think we have to back.
We might have to back
I
up.
think
Yeah,
we have to back up.
Yeah. So again, just the space requirement, where that stuff's going to go, how it's going to get in there, and
Right.
et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
Another thing to consider when you're having it, whether it's shipped or delivered, is what kind of training are you going to get at that moment?
Yes.
Like
that's a
when the
big
machine
one.
is delivered, you always want to have to know that you're going to get some basic training at least, right?
Right.
Maybe not the full on extent at that time, but at least the basic stuff.
Well, you definitely, if
Yeah,
you're,
this is a really good one for you because you're
Yeah.
a trainer.
if you definitely don't, speaking from much experience, you definitely don't want the full-on training experience on delivery day. You have gone through so many emotions up and down before the machine arrives, when the machine gets there. Maybe the power didn't turn on the first time because they had it plugged into a different outlet, and you start going through an anxiety attack. I've been there. You're going through so many different things that once it gets time for that machine to turn on and go through training, you're going to remember a very minuscule amount of it because you've gone through so much and you're so excited just to play.
Yeah.
So you definitely want to know what the training is at delivery. And if it is a full-blown training class, you need to be prepared with pen, paper, if they allow you to, a possible recording of it. Don't let the recording distract you from actually paying attention, though. Maybe have someone there with you to help record it if it's allowed to do that, because you really want to be focused on what's going on. But majority of dealers, and I can't speak for everybody, but I would think majority of dealers, when you can go back for training.
Yeah, that was my next thing on my here is that, having the beginning training, that day, say you have your delivery day and say maybe the next day is training or it's in one day, depending on what type of machine you're getting. Having that, knowing that you're going to get the very basics to get started. Now, I always recommended that if you had the ability with the machine brand that you're getting is taking the training a couple weeks later.
Oh, 1,000%.
Right. If you have that ability to get that basic set up, you want to play for a couple weeks. You want to find out what your questions, what you have, what are the questions that you're running into, what are the things that you want to learn out of it. And by playing with the machine for a while, you really learn all those things.
Definitely.
Right?
And you don't know what you don't know until you know it.
Exactly.
Okay. And so sitting there and playing with the machine for 2 to 3 weeks, it might sound, oh no, I really want to get going with this tomorrow. But when you do go for that training, you've already accidentally clicked that one icon that got you into something. And now you get to ask, what does this icon really do?
Yeah.
And how did I get myself there? And how do I get myself out of it? When you go the next day for a full-on thing, you haven't had enough time to digest how that machine works. Where are certain buttons? If you got a computerized one, how the software interacts with you. What are some of the warning messages that could come up? What if I want to save the quilt, go to sleep, and wake up the next day and work on it? Yeah. You really haven't had time to look through the manual if there's one offered to really understand some of the things that you want to know how to do.
Yeah. No,
But if you spend that 2 to 3 weeks running into those roadblocks and those bumps, because it's going to happen. That's just natural.
Yep.
Then when you get to training, you're a little bit more prepared. You're a little bit more at ease, and you're excited to learn those other things that the machine can do. Just what's the clicking process to get there, or the process on the front of your screen on the machine to get there.
Exactly. And if that process makes you just a little bit nervous, just ask if you can call them in between or send them a quick email before you do come to that training.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, definitely.
Right.
Always stay in contact with the person you bought it from.
Yeah, which is why it's really nice if you can get it from a local dealer if you're buying new.
Yeah.
Right. You can definitely shout out to them, stop by the store if they're closer to you, and just say, hey, I did this, but I couldn't figure this out, and da-da-da. I'm so excited for my training, but I just want to learn a few more things in between. And they're going to be happy to help you. I know they will.
For sure.
So what did I leave out?
Okay.
What did we go to?
You left out like the number one way you used to sell a machine. And I'm a little sad, actually.
Are you talking about the social media or?
No. You left out, when it comes to choosing a long arm, you also have to choose the size throat of the machine.
Oh my gosh, I really did leave that out. We did talk about that in last week a lot, so I'll say I did that already.
Yeah, okay, that's what we're going with. All right.
No, yeah, you're really good. So you know what, Corey, it's your turn.
Thank you so much, Mom. Hi, everybody. I'm here. Another big thing to consider when you are looking at getting a long arm is the size throat that the machine offers. Now, when we say throat, for those of you that don't know, you're at from the needle to the back inside of the machine.
On the inside,
That's the inside of it. Now, a lot of things can be commonly misconcepted. Look at me, SAT vocab. Is that you'll see machines like, for instance, just going to say the Anovas because those are the ones that we have. They have the M series right now, and that's an M20, an M24, and an M28. That number that's after the M represents the throat size. Okay, so there's a 20-inch throat, a 24-inch throat, and a 28-inch throat. Every machine brand in the market has those numbers. Correct. Maybe not exactly 20, 24, and 28, but they'll have a number.
They'll have a number, yeah.
Number. Now, one of the biggest things, that throat number is not your actual quilting area. It's different. Yep. Okay, and you always want to keep that in mind. So, for instance, with the M series Anovas, it's roughly about 3 inches or 3 subtracted from that number. So like a 20 is roughly a 17-inch quilting area. So that's going to be how much of a row when you first get started that you'll be able to accomplish. So that brings in another thing. If you're looking at going into a business, you don't want to limit yourself with a little bit of a smaller throat. Correct. Because sometimes you're going to want to be doing those larger panographs, those larger blocks on point, and you want to be able to get them done in one fair swoop as opposed to breaking it apart and having to roll back and forth to complete that block.
Exactly.
So you really want to look at what is my actual quilting area and what are those overall quilting needs that I'm going to want to be doing. Am I going to want to do a Judy Niemeyer and keep it all in one continuous swoop and not have to roll back and forth in my row to do a section of it? You might want a larger throat to accomplish that then.
Correct, yeah.
If you're okay rolling back and forth, that's fine. You can accomplish it in a smaller throat. But you definitely want to keep that in mind. Sometimes you'll go and you'll say you looked at a machine that has a 16-inch throat. Yeah. But sometimes that quilting area and I didn't preface those numbers. For the Anovas, that roughly 3 inches, that's not the same for all machines. Yeah. Some machines, it might be roughly 6 inches or 6 off of that throat size number. Yeah. You need to look at the literature on that. But you really want to keep that in mind for what size quilting you're going to want to do. And if you're going into full-blown business production and your budget allows for it, get the largest one you can.
Time is money.
Time is money. But those larger throats, like the M28, like I can do 2 rows of quilting, 2 good size rows of quilting at one time, and that's taken up that 1.5 rolls that I was doing before on a smaller machine.
Exactly. Yeah. No, that's a good point. I'm so glad I have you here. That's why we do this together, because what I forgot, you remember.
She doesn't keep me around because I'm pretty. Or her son. She keeps me around because I know how to run the tech.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why. Let's be honest.
Oh, my goodness. But yeah, so, I mean, we hit on a lot of really good points on what to consider when looking at a long arm today. You definitely can always put questions into the notes, and it will answer the best to our knowledge. We hope that this was helpful for you.
Definitely.
And we love sharing knowledge that we've gained over all these years, which was why it's expert advice, right? And it just it comes from the knowledge. It comes from the years and years and years of us being in this industry, and combined.
I think it comes from the real life scenarios that we've run into.
Yeah, from being in the industry. So for sure, the real life scenarios. It's a round effect, but no, definitely the real life scenarios. I mean, I think we've run into everything possible that we could almost imagine when it comes to
almost everything.
I'm sure there hasn't been everything. Yeah. But whether it was us at the location with the delivery, or it was Darren coming home and telling us how he was able to get a machine in a certain room and what he had to angle and what he had to take apart, or just working with the customers over the phone on how to plan out their future, quilting room for them.
Right.
So hopefully those tips helped, and you love hearing us share the tips. We love giving them. And this, again, is our tips.
Yep.
Our stuff that's come from us. It doesn't mean it's industry standard. It doesn't mean that other people don't have really good advice on the same thing. It's just our opinion.
Just stuff we've brought from over the years.
Yeah.
And you can combine this with your own research. You can combine this with other opinions as well. It's just helping you make a more educated, informed decision when you're going in to make
A huge
one
purchase.
of the largest purchase, a really big purchase in your life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us today. And a special thanks to Anova Longarm Quilting Machines for sponsoring this episode. Ready to take your quilting to the next level? Explore all that Anova has to offer at AnovaLongarm.com. Anova, built to quilt.